Please be seated. As Dean of the Divinity School at the University of Chicago, it is my honor on behalf of our entire community to welcome you, our graduates, also family members, friends, current students, to this hooding and pinning ceremony held in conjunction with the 540th Convocation of the University of Chicago. We are gathered here in Rockefeller Chapel. It is the place I love always, this room, for this occasion. There is something quite remarkable about the place, the scale of the space, the height of these vaulted ceilings, the long nave, the light that seems exactly right for a momentous occasion such as this. Intimate and expansive at the same time, which is, to be honest, what a Divinity School education should feel like. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to my colleague, Mimi Madoff, Dean of Students in the Divinity School, who will add her words of greeting.
Thank you, Dean Robinson. It is my honor to welcome you to this celebration of our graduates. Thank you to everyone who has made this day possible, including the staff of the Divinity School and the Office of University Events and Ceremonies. To the families and friends of our graduates, we are grateful for your support and commitment in helping our graduates achieve this important milestone. Following the ceremony, we look forward to continuing the celebration with all of you at the Divinity School Community Reception in Swift Hall. We are delighted to be able to return to our historic building to celebrate your achievement as a culmination of this momentous 100th anniversary year of Swift Hall. I would like to take a moment to address this remarkable group of graduates. I have had the great pleasure to get to know many of you as Bond's peer mentors in office hours, at study breaks and divinities, through your thoughtful reflections in open space, in impromptu conversations in the hallway, and in seeing the photos of your beautiful children and adorable pets. I am moved and inspired by the genuine care you show for your colleagues, your curiosity and drive to take advantage of every possible opportunity, and the vulnerability you show in asking difficult questions and in knowing there is always more to know. AMRS students, you have completed a program of study that makes important connections between your professional interests and the academic study of religion. Master's students, you have completed 2 rigorous years of coursework, and among you have studied an impressive 17 different ancient and modern foreign languages. Ministry students, you have devoted yourselves to work both in and out of the classroom, with time spent in the service of others in congregations, hospitals, and community organizations. Doctoral students, you have challenged yourselves and your colleagues to ask innovative questions and write dissertations that will make significant contributions to your field of study. Equally noteworthy, all of you have contributed to making the community of Swift Hall a transformative place by sharing your ideas, questioning your questions, and caring for the cherished friends you have made along the way. Perhaps your friendship started during Admitted Students Day or Orientation Week and developed in navigating the challenges of a 9-week quarter, or through meetings over a favorite coffee drink at Grounds of Being or at a 4 to 8. Whichever moments or experiences have tied you together in Swift Hall, may they be the ones that bring you back to us as friends, scholars, mentors, and leaders. Congratulations.
Before we proceed, I would like to say a few words about this year and about what it means for the people we are celebrating today. This has been a remarkable year for the Div School. Swift Hall, as you may have heard again and again, turned 100. We've spent this centennial year looking back at the generations of scholars and students who have worked, who have argued, taught, and studied in Swift Hall. This is not nostalgia, not really at all. It is the opposite of nostalgia. It is a way of asking certain questions. What kind of place have we inherited? And what do we want to build from here? Another highlight I want to share speaks directly to where this school is going and to why what you've studied here matters so much. We launched a new initiative, the Wolf Seminars on Religion, Science, and Technology. The premise is simple but urgent. The biggest questions facing the world right now, artificial intelligence, climate change, biotechnology, are not just technical questions, they are deeply human questions. Questions about what it means to be alive, to be responsible, to be in community. Questions that religion has been asking for millennia. The world you are stepping into is uncertain in ways that were hard to imagine even a decade ago. The pace of change in technology, in global politics, in the nature of work, information, community, it is dizzying. And people are frightened. They're confused. They're looking for frameworks, for language, for ways to ask the right questions. You have spent years developing exactly that. Each of you, across each of your degree programs, whether you are leaving us with a PhD, having completed an original work of scholarship, or an MDiv, trained to minister and lead in communities that will face these challenges in their most intimate, or an MA or AMRS degree, equipped to bring comparative, critical thinking about religion into the realms of journalism, policy, advocacy, and education. All of you have been trained to do something that is rare. To sit with complexity, to read carefully, to understand how religion shapes the world. That is what this school has given you, and it is exactly what the world needs right now. We shall now proceed to honor the graduates of our degree programs. We now recognize the achievement of the AMRS graduates who will be awarded the degree of Masters of Arts in Religious Studies by the Board of Trustees of the University at tomorrow's convocation. Will the AMRS graduates please stand? These students have completed a serious program in the academic study of religion, including 9 courses and an oral exam with faculty on a piece of their own research. They have acquired foundational knowledge in the study of religion. In recognition of this accomplishment, you will receive the lapel pin of the University of Chicago, now your alma mater.
Jessica Lorraine Riddell. Sean Tan. Please join me in congratulating the Divinity School's 2026 Master of Arts in Religious Studies graduates.
We now recognize the achievement of the MA graduates who will be awarded the degree of Master of Arts in Divinity by the Board of Trustees of the University at tomorrow's convocation. Will the MA graduates please stand? These students have completed a 2-year course of study introducing them to the substance and methods of the academic inquiry into the subject of religion in its multiple manifestations. These graduates, through coursework, language study, independent research, and extracurricular engagement, have attained a genuine breadth of acquaintance with the methods for the study of religion and fundamental knowledge in their chosen areas of concentration. In recognition of this accomplishment, you will, graduates, receive the lapel pin of the University of Chicago, now your alma mater.
Marjane A. Del Caro. Lindsay Jo Esselman. Charlene Fun. Carter Nixon Ford. Olive Kessler Powers Gardner. Samuel Lewis Griffiths. Maxwell Minor Hart. Ellen Marie Herbert. Hunter Connell Jackson. Carter Champion Jacobs. Thomas William Jennings. Moksha Trushar Kachia. Kristen Nicole Kitch. Srinath Kadambi Perongor. Clayton Edward Powell. Julia Marie Richardson. Grace Rodermond. Theodosi Ruskoff. Jason Shivak. Sailesh Madhav Srinivas. Joseph Lewis Trotterman. Hao Wang. Story Wardak. Emma Cherie Yeager. Ethan James Yu. Jingqi Zhou. Please join me in congratulating the Divinity School's 2026 Master of Arts in Divinity graduates.
We now celebrate the accomplishments of our MDiv graduates who will be awarded the Master of Divinity degree by the Board of Trustees of the University at tomorrow's Convocation. Will the MDiv graduates please stand? These students have completed a demanding course of study toward professional competence in public religious leadership, including coursework in the significance of religious experience, community, leadership and discourse, attention to practice in the arts of ministry, and to attendant engagements in field education, and a senior ministry project and public presentation of the project that represents original research in the arts of ministry. They are trained for the profession of religious leadership. In recognition of this accomplishment, you will receive the lapel pin of the University of Chicago, now your alma mater.
Delaney Marie Bay. Theophilus Donahue. Skylar French. Michael Gonzalo Hernandez. Alexander Warren King. Philip A. Lindia. Christopher Carpenter Merkel. Jay Ramiro. Delaney K. Wallace. Anna Chase Zeisel. Please join me in congratulating the Divinity School's 2026 Master of Divinity graduates.
It is now my pleasure to introduce this year's faculty speaker. A few months ago, I asked myself, who among our faculty is doing work that speaks directly to where the world is and where our graduates are headed? Who is asking questions that feel urgent and also truly difficult, the kind of questions a div school education prepares you to sit with? The answer came quickly. Angie Heo is Associate Professor of the Anthropology and Sociology of Religion in the Divinity School and the college. Her first book, The Political Lives of Saints, Christian-Muslim Mediation in Egypt, grew from years of fieldwork, 30 months over the course of a transformative decade during which she studied how Coptic Christians navigate life alongside Muslims in Egypt, how saints, miracles, and holy images do social and political work, how religious practice mediates majority-minority relations, state power, and sectarian tension, how the most local, intimate forms of devotion are entangled with the largest forces of politics and history. The book is, in every sense, a major accomplishment, meticulous, ambitious, and illuminating about how religion actually works in the world. Angie is now turning her lens to a very different corner of the globe, to new religious movements in trans-Pacific perspective, focusing on America, Japan, and the divided Koreas. While the geographies are indeed quite different, the questions are remarkably continuous. How do religion and economy intersect? How does faith get organized and sometimes weaponized by political power? How do minority communities survive and flourish within systems not designed for them? These are questions that matter They matter deeply in the world our graduates are entering. Beyond her research, Angie is a dedicated teacher whose courses on ethnographic method, religion and economy, and global Christianity have shaped the thinking of students across all of our degree programs. She is a model of exactly the kind of scholarship this school stands for: serious, grounded, comparative, and in constant conversation with the pressing questions of the day. Please join me in welcoming Professor Angie Heo.
Dean Robinson and Dean Madoff, esteemed colleagues, proud families, and happy friends, and especially those of you in cap and gown, the class of 2026, congratulations. I'm truly honored to deliver this address as you stand at the threshold of all that lies ahead. Preparing my remarks, I found myself returning to other remarks I delivered back in March 2023. It was Admitted Students Day, and I'd been assigned to speak on the work of the Divinity School. Some of you were seated there in the century-old Swift Lecture Hall beneath those magnificently carved rafters and reading angels, asking yourselves if this degree would justify what it would ask of you. So, here we are, on the other side together once again. And now, the question is truly yours to answer. Well, was it worth it? Honestly, only time will tell. But to get you started, allow me to revisit once more with you the work of the Divinity School. Let's face it, the value of slow thought and deliberative conversation is in peril these days. In remembering the work we do, today I remember as much for myself as I do with you, because we very much need to. We all know well that the humanities, including the study of religion, confront, perhaps more than ever, the relentless pull of markets and machines. To resist the pull, let's elevate what you did here and why it matters for when you leave and go elsewhere. To do justice to the work of the Divinity School, I'll be borrowing a term you've likely heard on this campus: craft. Craft is a term I regularly encounter here and nowhere else. Craft, as in the craft of teaching or the craft of writing. It's a word that connotes care and capacity. It refers to a technique forged over time and through practice, failure, iteration, and return. The craft of drafting drafts, or the craft of reading a text until it reads you back. Craft has an old school feel to it, calling us to conjure a universe of artisans and guilds, sturdy chairs and flashes of creativity, and an underground, yes, where God drinks coffee. To our dear alums, I completely get the nostalgia. To our dear graduates, I recognize you pursued these myriad crafts of learning in a fierce crucible, in the shadow of a pandemic, and amid forces openly hostile to higher education. To our MAs and MDivs in particular, a little bird told me you went that extra mile to ensure we do our work in a supportive community. When I asked around about whom I'd be addressing today, I was told that this year's master's cohorts are truly special, and I quote, "They have big hearts. They check in with each other. They show up. They're excited to be here." For this, all of us thank you. In recent years, I'll admit there have been moments when I've questioned what we're doing here. And I'm willing to bet you have, on occasion, also indulged your doubts. For me, my reckoning stems not from doubt in the value of what we do, but more from concern that what we do is not valued by the world around us. In one such moment of doubt, to my good fortune, a friend and colleague of mine, without knowing it, reminded me that our crafts are needed more than ever. A prominent historian of the Korean War, he directed my attention to an editorial penned by a foreign policy analyst. The opening statement stopped me in my tracks, and it reads, 4 weeks into the US-Israeli war on Iran, one conclusion is already difficult to avoid. Our leaders preside over an extraordinary machinery of destruction, but they remain strikingly obtuse about human beings, about their pride, shame, convictions, and historical memory. Never has so much been seen so precisely by so many people who understand so little of what they are seeing. We live in a time of incomprehensible information density flooded with content faster than we can make sense of it, and the stakes of moral attunement are heavy indeed. There's an unavoidable human gap between data and meaning. Dare I say it, ultimate meaning. That is, what someone fears, cherishes, commemorates, and dies for. That gap between observing and understanding, that great tradition of interpretation, that is the gap your education here at the Divinity School was precisely envisioned to probe and close. It's a little hot. I want to make a case that everything you've gathered here, all the techniques, all the methods, all the hard-won capacities, amounts to something larger than a toolkit. Call it craft in the fullest sense. Not just technique, but wisdom. A way of knowing that's far from innocent, like the cunning of a curious field worker, or the discernment of a philosopher who sits longer with a question to know what it is really asking. In an era when others chase bloated paychecks, or the simple ease of just not needing to know, you chose differently. You chose the slow, attentive work of pouring through sentences, wrestling words into shape, and inhabiting a new language, even two. You sat with communities, with rituals, with texts, long enough to understand not just what people do, but what it means to them and why. That's not a small thing. That's not a small thing. In fact, it's the most necessary thing. When I survey the dissertation titles of our PhD graduates today, I'm proud of what we do here. Let's take a moment to recognize the significance of these topics and the courage it must have taken to write about them. Jewish supremacy and medieval exegesis, white nationalism and civil religion in the American South, moral responsibility in a world after truth with a capital T, and the list goes on. You're the ones to remind us that the crafts of deliberate thought and deep meaning are not only valuable, but vital if we want to maneuver, flourish, and frankly, live fulfilling lives. This brings me to my final point. Obviously, the work of the Divinity School was and is hard. It makes sense that some liken academics to athletics, a fitness of mind that requires exercise and stamina. But at the risk of bordering the banal, it's worth remembering that yes, learning is fun. Our great fortune in this cosmos of unequal vocations is that our work here is actually supposed to be one of fun, not of drudgery. The fun I'm talking about here is not unserious gab or disposable leisure. The fun I'm talking about here is one of unbought pleasure. The sudden bursts of unexpected association that arrive uninvited and illumine something or everything. It's the way in which our minds and bodies make every ordinary encounter more vibrant, attuned, keen, and sentient to what many others pass by without a second thought. What else would a full life look like? How else would we get through the endless monotony of scrolling or the thin satisfaction of going viral? Legend has it that the University of Chicago is where fun comes to die. Well, here's a reversal for you. In a world where fun has not so much died, but been flattened, our craft work is nothing short of the antidote. The truth is, we don't really need to bring bouncy castles into the quad because our work was intended to make the so-called slow and boring leap, spring, and pop. Religion's not going away anytime soon, in the US and elsewhere. Whatever the best of Netflix may be, if they still can't seem to match the raw power of a vision of Jesus, the prophet, the devil, or the mystics. And if the history of religions has anything to tell us, ravenous ghosts are all the more active in times of scarcity and purging. Let's just say we're not short of any interesting material when you walk out of Rockefeller today. The Divinity School's not Swift Hall. It's not the faculty who remain like fixtures after you leave. What our school really is what you carry out with you, something forged in the craft itself. Your voice is thicker than when you first arrived, more vibrant, animated, and tempered by the voices around you. I can't tell you how many times, while leading a discussion, one of you around the table will bring an insight no one else has brought before, or spark a line of thought for someone else's project that would end up occupying a decade of that other person's life. Call it communion. Call it social impact. The whole point is that much of the thrill of the craft is also reaching someone else in the room under just the right conditions. The conversations you had here remain yours when you leave, now with more cunning, discernment, and ownership. So, go out. Let yourself be surprised by what you can see and do. Come back and visit us sometime. I heard you might even miss us. Congratulations, class of 2026.
Thank you, Professor Heo. We will now present our new doctoral graduates. These graduates will be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy by the Board of Trustees of the university. Will the PhD graduates please stand? These doctoral graduates have completed a rigorous course of study in one of the 11 areas of specialization in the Divinity School, including extensive coursework, examinations in modern and ancient languages, comprehensive written and oral qualifying examinations, pedagogical training with associated teaching assignments, and the research and writing of a dissertation that has been approved by a faculty committee in their field of study. They are trained as professionals, research scholars, and educators in the academic study of religion. The PhD is a research degree conferred only when the candidate has made an original contribution to the field of religious studies. In recognition of this accomplishment, you, PhD graduates, will receive the doctoral hood that you now have the right and privilege to wear, which uniquely marks you as a Doctor of Philosophy, graduate of the University of Chicago, now your alma mater.
Rachel Abdallah, Dissertation Chair, Professor Wilhelmine Otten, hooded by Professor Wilhelmine Otten, Program of Study, History of Christianity. Dissertation entitled, Between Defense and Devotion, Buttress Asadamanti Ketab al-Tasi in its 13th century Copto-Islamic milieu. Ryan Bingham, Dissertation Chair, Sarah Hammerschlag, hooded by Professor Sarah Hammerschlag, Program of Study, Religion, Literature, and Visual Culture. Dissertation entitled, A Materialism Without Substance, Jacques Derrida and Questions of Responsibility at the Closure of Metaphysics. Mehmet Emin Gulyachuz, Dissertation Chair, Professor Yusuf Kayswet, hooded by Professor Yusuf Kayswet, Program of Study, Islamic Studies. Dissertation entitled, Molla Fenari and the Sufi Metaphysics of Absolute Being. Claire Hoto, Dissertation Chair, Professor Angie Heo, hooded by Professor Angie Heo, Program of Study, Anthropology and Sociology of Religion. Dissertation entitled, Memory, Race, and Civil Religion at a Neo-Confederate Shrine. Rachel Brooke Katz, Dissertation Chair, Dean James Theodore Robinson, hooded by Dean James Theodore Robinson, Program of Study, History of Judaism. Dissertation entitled, Isaac Arama's Akedat Yitzchak, Exegetical Confrontation, Domestication of Philosophy, Jewish Supremacy. Mihaela Rethlake, Dissertation Chair, Professor Kevin Hector, hooded by Professor Kevin Hector, Program of Study, Philosophy of Religions. Dissertation entitled, God and Love, Divine Nature in Philosophical, Theological, and Feminist Perspective. David Brian Ridge. Dissertation Chair, Professor Jeffrey Stackert. Hooded by Professor Jeffrey Stackert. Program of Study, Biblical Studies. Dissertation entitled, Characterization and Coherence in Job. Emily Jane Thomason. Dissertation Chair, Professor Jeffrey Stackert. Hooded by Professor Jeffrey Stackert. Program of Study, Biblical Studies. Dissertation entitled, Progeny, Fertility, and Divine Blessing, an analysis of Pentateuchal texts in their Iron Age context. Please join me in congratulating the Divinity School's 2026 doctoral graduates.
The University of Chicago annually recognizes and honors tenure-track and tenured faculty for sustained, exemplary teaching and mentoring of PhD students across the university with the Faculty Award for the Graduate Teaching and Mentoring. I'm delighted to present the 2026 Faculty Award for Excellence in Graduate Teaching and Mentoring to Jeffrey Stackert, the Carolyn E. Haskell Professor of Hebrew Bible in the Divinity School. In the Div School, Isaac, and the college. Jeffrey Stackert has worked tirelessly to build the Hebrew Bible program at the University of Chicago in many ways from the ground up, and his singular focus on training in languages and critical methods has grown the program into one of the best in the country and perhaps the world. Through a unique system of pedagogy beginning at the MA level and a focus on reading texts at an early stage, he has trained a new generation, established a curriculum to support them, started a workshop that remains a model of workshops, and systematically placed his students in the best university positions. He is tough and exacting, but generous and supportive, qualities his students appreciate immensely. I now invite Professor Stackert to join me up front. He's way ahead of me always. It is my pleasure to present this award. The citation of the award now reads as follows. You get the official citation now. Jeffrey Stackert's exacting yet generous approach to teaching, his commitment to rigorous training in languages and methods, and his sustained mentorship beyond the dissertation make him a transformative teacher who prepares graduate students to excel as scholars and colleagues. Congratulations, Professor Stackert, on this well-deserved honor. The J. Kurt Reilersdom Prize honors a University of Chicago Divinity School student who has made special efforts to promote interfaith relations with particular reference to the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim traditions. These efforts may consist of curricular or extracurricular achievements. I am delighted to present the 2026 Reilersdom Prize to PhD graduate Rachel Abdallah. Please come forward, Rachel. Rachel Abdallah's dissertation entitled Between Defense and Devotion, Boutros Asadamanti's Kitaba Tashih, in its 13th century Copto-Islamic milieu, focuses on a 13th century text by Boutros Asadamanti, a Coptic monk in Egypt writing in Arabic who defended the divinity of Christ. In his text, the Book of Correction on the Pains of Christ the Lord, he used materials from an author of a different confession, Ibn Tayyib, and defended the integrity of the biblical text against Muslim detractors. This is a text with many interfaith connections. Through this work, Rachel has demonstrated the ability to navigate the different Abrahamic faith traditions, revealing and respecting what is special about each, while also pushing for their dialogue and open integration. For that, Rachel, the Div School considers you a most worthy recipient of the Rylersdom Award. The Rind Award was established by university trustee and Div School visiting committee member James Rind in honor of his father, who was a Presbyterian pastor and teacher. Each year, the Joseph Gray Rind Award is presented to a graduating Master of Divinity student whose, and now I quote from the citation, whose excellence in academic and professional training gives notable promise of a significant contribution to the service of others. I am delighted to present the 2026 Rind Award to MDiv graduate Delaney Bay. Please come forward, Delaney. Delaney Bay entered the Div School 3 years ago to explore the work of chaplaincy, but to their great surprise, they fell in love with preaching and congregational leadership during their second year of field placement at First Congregational Church of Glen Ellen. Delaney demonstrates strong instincts for religious leadership. They are curious and discerning, calm under pressure, deeply rooted in theological scholarship and Christian practice, and committed to excellence in writing, teaching, and preaching. Their student colleagues describe Delaney as grounded and trustworthy. When Delaney speaks, they pay attention. Delaney's MDiv thesis, entitled The Courage to be Church, calls on religious communities to embrace spiritual practice and moral leadership in a season of profound institutional anxiety. Delaney looks forward to returning to work in the Glen Ellen congregation this summer as they prepare for ordination in the United Church of Christ. For all of this, Delaney, the Div School considers you a worthy recipient of the Rind Award. The Buechner Writing Prize honors a University of Chicago Div School MDiv student who demonstrates the ability to communicate religious scholarship for a broad audience based on the public essay assignment that is part of MDiv thesis project. I am delighted to present the 2026 Buechner Writing Prize to MDiv graduate Anna Zeisel. Please come forward, Anna. MDiv thesis project, Anna's MDiv thesis project on longing, absence, and the uses of traditional prayer in contemporary Jewish life, and her accompanying essay, After Nostalgia, Absence, Longing, and the New American Jew, demonstrate her strengths as an interpreter of religious thought and practice for contemporary publics. Anna reads history, tradition, context, and the experiences of those in her care with equal curiosity and care, resulting in written work that is cogent, courageous, and inspiring. For Anna, writing is more than a demonstration of competence or a completion of an assignment. It is a spiritual practice. And accompanying her colleagues as they work on their own writing is an expression of religious leadership. For that, Anna, the Div School considers you a most worthy recipient of the Buechner Award. I would like to close with something personal. I've been doing this job for a few years now, and one of the things I've learned is that a graduation ceremony is a strange and wonderful thing. You spend years getting to this chapel, and then suddenly you're here, and then suddenly it's over. So I want to take a moment before we finish and before you leave to say a few things that I mean dearly. I am proud of you. Proud of you not in a perfunctory end of ceremony sort of way. I am genuinely proud of what you've done here, and I am moved by the seriousness with which you've approached it. The study of religion is hard. That is certainly the case. Not just intellectually, though it is certainly that. It is hard because it asks you to take seriously things that are easy to dismiss, to read carefully what the world reads carelessly, to ask why something matters to someone rather than assuming you already know. You've done that. You've done it for years, and that is not nothing. On the contrary, it is truly quite a lot. The world is going to present you with questions it does not yet know how to ask. Questions about what it means to be human when the machines are so powerful. Questions about how communities hold together when so much is pulling them apart. Questions about what sacred means when everything feels contingent, and what authority means when everything feels contested. These are Div School questions, and you are ready for them. In a rabbinic text I'm fond of quoting, there is recorded a debate. What is better, they ask, learning or action? And the simple answer is learning, because learning leads to action. You have learned, now go and act. Let your knowledge be of use to your communities, to your students, to your congregations, to your readers, to anyone who needs someone who can see clearly and speak carefully in a complicated world. Congratulations to you, the class of 2026.